Hey everybody, it's Kai. I will give you a second to jump on and we'll get going. I know some of you will be watching the playback. Um, it might be kind of a tough time in the middle of the day for some of you. I will wait until I see that Lauren is on and then I will get going. This is me, this is what you get. Hi Lauren, there you are. I was saying this is me, this is the glamorous day-to-day. I do most of my live videos for my team from my car. I'm in yoga gear. I'm in between school drop-off and a yoga class, and this is kind of how I fit it in, which is what we will, hi Bree, which is what we'll talk about in just a second. So okay, feel free as you jump on. I'm trying to stabilize this here for you so I'm not making you nauseated. Feel free as I go if you have any questions, if you have anything specific that you'd like me to cover. Hi Melinda. Post it down there, say hello, tell me where you're from. I am going to start out, I'll just kind of quickly go through my story for those of you who don't know it, and then I'll cover some tips on how I got to where I'm at and how to try to juggle your busy life, and how being too busy can actually be an asset for you and not an excuse. So I started with Unique in April of 2014, and at the time I started, I was working full-time as a trial attorney. I was working about 50 hours a week. My daughter was 2 years old. My daughter was born with some congenital defects and some medical issues that required her to have, she was born non-responsive. We spent about 10 days in the hospital. UCLA, amazing NICU team that did wonderful things for her. And so we spent the first 10 days in the hospital. She had 3 surgeries in her first 6 months of life. She had a little baby colostomy bag for about 3 months. So she required a lot of care. And my husband at the time was a television producer, so he traveled all the time. I mean, he still travels all the time. He's, is in Texas for 4 months right now, and he was always on the road. I was working full-time, like I said, as a trial attorney, about 50 hours a week, getting home at 9 o'clock at night, a lot of nights, working weekends, crazy life. So when my sponsor, Carrie, sent me a message about Unique, I said, hey, sounds great, looks like a great mascara. There is no way that I have time in my life for one more thing. No way. I'm way too busy. And I wanted to support her, and so I bought a mascara. And I tried it, and I loved it. And I texted a photo to my sister and my mom and a couple close friends and said, hey, this is awesome. You have to try this. They're like, okay, I'll buy one, send me one. So I went back to her and I said, hey, I think, how much is it to sign up? 99 bucks, cool. Okay, I will, I'll do the kit, I'll get some makeup, and maybe I can earn my money back. I did not ever think that it was going to be anything more than that. Maybe a couple extra bucks a month. So because I went into it with kind of a half-hearted mindset, my initial progress was pretty slow. I did not hit yellow in my first month. I did not sponsor anyone for my first 6 weeks. The first person that I sponsored was my mom, because I made her. And, it just kind of progressed that way. And so I was back home in Michigan where I grew up, and I was visiting my childhood best friend, Krista Lee. And I was telling her about the mascara and how much I loved it. And she said, well, I'll try it out, and if I like it, maybe I'll sell it. And so she tried it. She wore it to work that day. She came home. She loved it. And she said, all right, I'll sign up. Signed up at about 11 o'clock at night. And we woke up the next morning, and she showed me her phone, and she was like, what is this PRS? I have 600. Is that good? That's good, right? And I'm like, oh, yeah, pretty good. And she hit yellow in about 4 days. I think she hit fast start her first week. She was pink her first month. Went on to be green in about 2 months, and that kind of gave me this confidence that I needed to think, hey, maybe I can actually make something of this. And I started looking at the comp plan and seeing that if I could get to pink, I could actually make a little bit of money on my team. And so I'm like, all right, it's time to get serious. It's time to get my butt in gear. So I started reaching out to some other friends, and one of the next people that I reached out to was another childhood friend, Brooklyn McDermott, who's Black Status presenter now. She's earned the Costa Rica trip. She has a great team. I think she has 10 first-generation elites today. She was not quite as easy of a sell. She took 6 weeks for me to convince her to sign up. I sent her free mascara. She told me, Kai, in her southern accent, Kai, no one in this town is ever going to pay $29 for mascara. That's what she told me. And I'm happy to have proved her very, very wrong. And they were my first 2 elites. We kind of took off together. The 3 of us really ran together. Krista's purple status today. She's very close to black as well. So, you know, I started to take it more seriously, and I got to the point, I hit black status on Black Friday of 2014, so about 7.5 months in. And I was like on top of the world, right? Everything was great. I had sailed ahead in this company that I never really thought was going to happen. And I was like, nothing can shake me at this point. And about a month after I hit black status, my husband and I separated, and he moved out. And so now I'm still... Sorry, my dad just called. It totally cut out in the middle. I didn't even know it does that. That's how little I use my phone to actually make phone calls. So I was still working this 50-hour-a-week job, and now I was truly a single mom, right? So I'm like, okay, all these excuses that I had in the beginning, all these reasons why I couldn't do this, now are even stronger. I mean, now I have even less time. Now I have more obligation for my daughter. Now I'm on my own. And I had to kind of sit back and reevaluate what I wanted from this company. I was very stressed. There were times, I'm not gonna lie, there were times I wanted to quit. And I kind of coasted on the success that I'd had. What do I mean by that? So from the time I hit black, I sponsored 6 people over the next 6 months, so roughly 1 a month. And I was just kind of doing what I needed to do. You know, my sales were at about 600-700, just kind of clearing my minimum, and I had built this really great team, and now I was just kind of coasting on their success. Well, spoiler alert, that does not work. It might work for a little bit. It does not work long term. And so our attrition rate in our company is roughly 1/3. So what that means is you have to be replacing your team at the rate of about 1/3 just to kind of stay where you are. And so if you want to grow, you need to be doing even more than that. And so while I was sitting back kind of enjoying this paycheck on my team and not doing a ton, my team slowly started to kind of fall apart a little bit. And I had to really sit back and look at what I was doing for my own business and not just acting from a management perspective. So, throughout 2015, I struggled a little bit. I was going through some changes. In October, we went on the cruise, and my mom was a single mom. My grandpa was very, very active in raising us, and he was very much the paternal figure in my family. And we went on the cruise. I had no service. We landed back in Miami, and my phone was just blowing up, and I had 30 text messages, a chain from my family, and they told me that my grandpa was dying. He was very sick, and I needed to get home to be there. So if you miss, I'm getting the little thing is flashing that my connection is not great. So if you're missing anything or having a hard time hearing, just let me know, and I'll try to clarify anything for you. So I got off the boat in Miami, I flew home to LA, and I turned around the next day and I flew back to Michigan to be there for my grandpa's funeral. And my boss was not okay with it. He was not cool with it. I had just taken a week off work for the cruise, and here I was turning around saying I need another week off. And I had to delegate some court appearances, I had a trial coming up, and he was not having it. And so it was really a hard thing for me. And so I decided that week that I needed to figure out a way, something had to give. That all these reasons that I was doing this were not working. I was way too stressed. I was working way too much. You know, my family life was struggling. I had no time for my daughter. She was in school 9 to 6. I was paying somebody else to drive her home, where a nanny was waiting who would watch her until like 9 o'clock at night when I was getting home. And it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun for me. So I knew something had to give. So I decided that week that I was going to figure out a way to leave my job by the end of the year. And I was not financially ready to do that. And I kind of took a leap of faith. And in December of 2015, I left my job as a trial attorney. And the day I gave notice, I wanted to vomit. It was so scary. Oh, good, Lauren. Thank you. And so I gave notice. I had about 3 more weeks to work. So we're at end of November, right? Big, busy time in our business. And I had set a financial goal that I had to be at in order to leave my job, and I was not anywhere close to there. And in November of 2015, my previous income tripled from what I had been making. And so I was finally at this point where I'm like, oh, okay, this is a sigh of relief, I can leave. And it has stayed at that level or increased since. But it didn't just happen that way, right? What happened was in about June, July, coming into this part of the year, the summer slump, and I just did a video on the summer slump and why I think it's somewhat of a myth. I started really, really working my business. I got out there, I sponsored 20 people in 4 months. I doubled my PRS. I was going back to basics. I was reaching out to my own customers. I was putting my business first. And, it took me a while to learn that. And it takes some people a while to learn that, but that's always the trap that I see leaders fall into, is they turn to a management side and they start to manage their team, and then your business suffers, right? So what I want to do is kind of go back for you. And, Lauren had asked me, said there's a lot of working professionals on this team. And so, I'll share that link to the Summer Slump video in the comments. And basically what I talk about in that video is how I believe that the Summer Slump is caused by us kind of scaling back on how hard we work our business, as opposed to an actual dip in retail, because we're not in the gift industry, right? We're in a consumable cosmetic industry. There's nobody who you will ever meet. I've never met anyone who says, oh, it's a J month, it's June, it's a slow season, so I'm not going to wear eyeshadow until September, but contact me then and I'll buy from you. If they're not buying from you, they're buying from somebody. I think that the slow months are because we're busy, we're traveling, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in some ways. We're like, oh, well, it's slow anyway, so I'm not going to work my business that hard, and that's where we suffer. But I'm not going to go into too much detail on that because I can share that video in the comments. Lauren said there's a lot of working professionals on this team. So what I want to kind of do is share with you what I did in that crazy, crazy time when I was working 50 hours a week to still grow my business. So organization is so key. And, in some ways, it's really nice to have the time now. I love having the time with my daughter. I love having all day where I can work my business. But I'll be honest, there are some aspects of it that I was more productive. I was more productive when I was working a full-time job because, there's this quote I love that says, the work expands to fill the time allotted. And so what that means is if you have a half hour to finish a project, you're going to get it done in a half hour. If you have 8 hours to finish the same project, you're going to get it done in 8 hours. So in a way, I was more productive at that time because I only had limited time frames where I had to do what I had to do. So, if you're in this situation where you're like, look, I only have a couple hours a day, that's okay. You can make this business work in a couple hours a day. I did it. I did it as a single mom. I did it working till 9 o'clock at night. You will have to make some sacrifices. So one of the big things that I sacrificed was television. And that was kind of my thing, is I would get home and, it's a long, stressful day at work. I would sit down, I'd have a glass of wine, I'd watch some TV, and that was my kind of like unwind. And so my shift was, I came home, still sitting down with a glass of wine, but I'm sitting down at my laptop. And that was, you know, most nights, that's when I was working my business, is from 9 o'clock at night till about midnight when I went to bed. And you'd be amazed how much you can get done in 3 hours if you're really focused. So, you know, my day-to-day, basically what I would do is I'd wake up in the morning, that 15 minutes, I'd set my alarm for 15 minutes earlier than what I needed to be up for. And that groggy 15 minutes where I was trying to get out of bed, I would get online. I'm on the West Coast, so a lot of stuff would already happen. Most of my team is East Coast or Europe. So a lot would already happen by the time I was up. So I'd kind of catch up on my feeds, and I'd go to the Black page first, and I'd see what are the pertinent updates that I have to bring back to my team. And then I would go to my team page, and I would see, you know, if there was anything that I needed to address right away. And then I would go to other leader pages that I was in and see if there was any like great posts that I really needed to bring to them, or great updates. So I'd always start there. Then I get to work, you know, I'm driving to work. I will admit I'm guilty of working from my car at times. I live in LA, traffic is crazy, you're sitting in a standstill a lot. So I'd be, you know, sitting on the 405 in dead stop traffic, kind of looking down, checking my phone, seeing what's going on. I do a lot of voice messaging. That's how I connect with my customers. That's how I connect with my potentials, with my team. I think people like to hear your voice. And so I'd catch up on my Facebook messages by voice messaging. And that was something I kind of justify a little bit on my commute, because I'm not sitting there typing, I'm not texting and driving. Don't anybody yell at me for, I got yelled at once for doing that, so sorry. And you know, I would try to catch up that way. I'd get to work, I'd get in, the office was crazy, or if I was in court, it'd be wild. I wouldn't be able to connect for a couple hours. And that was good, because it kind of gave me time to like be thinking about, what do I want to focus on next? Where do I, when I have that time at the computer or at my phone, what do I want to focus on next? Midday, lunch, I would eat lunch at my desk. I would go through my back office. I would look at anybody who was near promotion. I would go through my past orders, and these are, you know, not always in the same lunch, but this is kind of like my different lunchtime tasks. I would go through past orders and see what customers I could reach out to, who was coming up for a refill. I would try to fit some selfie taking into that time too. I usually, you know, I had an excuse. When you're going to work every day, you are most likely wearing makeup every single day. Like now, I don't wear makeup every day. I wear it maybe once or twice a week. I had an excuse every morning to put on makeup, so I was taking selfies in the morning in the good light and using those to kind of post later in the day. So I'd have those set to post. I'd get home. I'd spend the time I could with my daughter if she wasn't already in bed. I'd make dinner. I'd take that time off. That was our time. I would try to turn my phone off at that time, get her in bed, and I would sit down, and that's when my 3 hours would start. That would be when I would work. And that's when I would really kind of go through, make sure that my team page was covered, make sure that I had messaged, you know, responded to everybody on Facebook message or text or whoever had gotten to me, because there are no mascara emergencies, right? There's nobody that couldn't wait until the end of the day for me to get back to them. And then I would start scheduling. And this is, if you don't have some kind of app or some kind of method to schedule your posts, that is the first thing you need to do. When it comes to organization, that will make your life so much easier. So I schedule all my personal posts at night. So, you know, I have a video that I posted on my personal page this morning and on my business page. And so last night I sat down, I filmed it a couple days ago, I cut it last night, I did what I needed to do, I uploaded it, and I scheduled it to post at 8 a.m. this morning. And then all I had to do was share it to my personal page from my business page. You know, I do the same thing for my team posts. I use Buffer. It's very user-friendly. I'm not tech-savvy at all. The one problem that I have with Buffer is the free version, you can only post to one group at a time. So you have to pick either your customer group or your team group, wherever that need is. The other thing, and this is a great tip that I got from another Black status leader, is create a group where you are the only person in it. And mine's just called Kai's To-Dos. And every time I see, because you know, I'm sure that you all go through this, I go through this, there are days where you have great post after great post after great post, or you just, you know, you have ideas left and right and everything's going great. And then there are days where you're like, what do I post? I have no idea what to post to my team. How can I come up with something? So you're struggling. So instead of flooding your team or flooding your customers with all these great posts, when you have them, pick one that you love, or maybe two that you love, and put the rest, copy and paste into a group page that you've created where you're the only person in it. And you have everything saved there, so that the next day, maybe when you don't have all these genius ideas, you can go back there and say, okay, let me pull something from here, and it makes it easier. I also keep lists in there of things I want to cover, and yeah, Carissa does it. It's great. I mean, it's been a lifesaver for me. The other thing that's huge as far as organization is I bought a $14 whiteboard, and I nailed it up on the wall in my kitchen, which doubles as my office. We haven't had dinner at my kitchen table in 6 months because that's my office desk now. And I have a to-do list, and you know, I can look there, I can cross things off, and we all get sucked into this like Facebook time trap, right? Where you get online and you're like, okay, I'm gonna do a post to my customers, and then you look at your newsfeed and then you're like, oh wow, I really love these new shoes, huh? Oh, there's a sale, it's only today. Okay, I'm gonna go and check out that sale. And then, oh look, Jane's pregnant again. Oh, I should wish her, I should congratulate her. And oh, I wonder what happened to that guy she dated from high school. And the next thing you know, you're 45 minutes down the road and all you've done is stare at Facebook and nothing income producing. Everyone does this. So what I do with my to-do list is I do not allow myself to look at Facebook, look at Instagram, look at anything until I've gotten through at least 3 things on that list. And, because a lot of times those things don't require you to go on Facebook, even though we're a social media oriented business. Making a video or reaching out to customers or, trying out some new makeup tricks. There are things that you can do that you don't even have to be online for. So I try to focus on that. And then, the great part about a whiteboard is I can have like, okay, this morning it says Tuesday and it has my list of to-dos, and yesterday it said Monday with everything on it, and I got to nothing. It was totally an unproductive day, so all I did was erase at the top where it said Monday and write Tuesday for the same list. And that's okay. I mean, that kind of bridges into the next thing I want to get to. We cannot do it all. We can't. It's just not possible. And I think it's a really dangerous trap to fall into when we start beating ourselves up over the things we can't do. Because I don't care if you are the white status presenter that signed up yesterday, or if you're Bree Richardson or Sherry Brown. I don't believe that anybody gets to everything on their list in a day. And so what you have to be able to learn to do is just let it go. You know what? It's okay. It's not the end of the world. You get to it tomorrow. And, if you sit there and you're focused so much on the things that you haven't done, or you're trying to play catch up, you're going to struggle. You're not going to get ahead. So when I was studying to take the bar exam, I took this really intense, Barbary is the name of the course, and it's this really intense study course that leads you into the exam, and it teaches you everything you need to know, crams it into your brain. And they set this lesson plan out for you, and it's 3 hours of instruction every day, and then you're supposed to spend the rest of the day writing essays, practicing multiple choice, reading chapters, and they give you so much work that it is not physically possible for you to do it. And they do it intentionally. They give you more than you can handle, because part of what they're preparing you for is teaching you how to pick and choose what's really important. And the trap that a lot of us fall into is we focus on the things that we're good at instead of spending that time trying to improve the things that we're not as good at. And so it's kind of this learning curve that they make you do right from the beginning. But what they say is you're going to start to fall behind. The worst thing you can do is go back to where you fell behind and try to catch up, because you're always going to be playing catch up. So what you do is you start here, right now, where you are, and you set out the goals that you want for yourself moving forward, okay? Stop looking backward. So whatever it was that you didn't get to yesterday, or whatever goal you didn't hit, or if you didn't hit a promotion when you wanted to, or maybe, we're on the last day of the month, maybe you're not where you wanted to be this month, decide to let it go right now and move forward. Because if you're walking around with those hang-ups, you're not going to be able to tackle the next challenge, and there will always be a next challenge for you. So I'm going to go, if there's any specific questions that you want me to cover, now, go ahead and send me some stuff. I'll take a break for about 20 seconds and, you know, just kind of see what you want. I want to make sure I'm taking you in the direction you want to go. Lauren gave me like really a lot of latitude to talk to you, which I love and I appreciate, but I could talk your ear off for hours, and I want to make this productive for you. So I'll scroll through and see I missed a couple comments as we were going. So yes, Lauren, I see you said you function better when you're busy. I love when people tell me I'm too busy from a sponsoring standpoint, because my response is always like, if you're too busy, I want you on my team. Because if you're too busy, it means you already know how to do multiple things and do them well. You already know how to juggle, and that's the kind of leader you want on your team, right? When I look at the top leaders on my team, Krista, who I told you is purple status, she led my team in sales in December of last year while she spent a week in the hospital having her second child. And she works a full-time job, and she works a full-time job where she's on her feet managing a salon, can't even be at a computer. Brooklyn had 3 jobs when I first started talking to her about the business. Carrie, my sponsor, has 3 young girls. She was working full-time as well. She coaches lacrosse. She's very active in her community. Busy people are better at this. So, you know, stop using busy as an excuse. Use it as an asset. Use it as a hey, I'm already good at a lot of things. I can totally be good at one more. Yes, don't try to be perfect. Don't try to. None of us are. That's an illusion, right? I mean, this is what it looks like. It's messy. I'm unshowered. I'm like squeezing this in between dropping my kid off, dropped her off late, got on a little late to you guys, probably going to be late to this yoga class. I'm late to everything. It's not glamorous. This is my life. I just make it fit where I can. Things on my daily to-do list. Okay, so I try to, every day, I mean, of course, you know, I'm always trying to be very present for my team. But every day I try to do, I set a goal of like, okay, I have to have one thing in each area of my business that can advance my business. So I leave that really open to what it can be. Like the one on my list right now is reach out to 5. And that's reaching out to 5 people on my Facebook page that maybe I've lost touch with, just trying to reestablish that relationship. And it's not reaching out saying, hey, you want to sign up and sell Unique? No, it's reaching out and saying, hey, you know, we haven't talked in a while. I saw you just took a trip to Austin. How was it? And reestablishing those connections, because part of what we're doing as leaders is building trust. So you want people to trust you. I saw a great quote last night that said, people buy into the leader way before they buy into the vision. And so if you have people who can trust you, your customers, your potentials, that's going to build a better business for you, even than them just thinking, hey, it's a great product. So I try to do one thing to reach out to those potentials a day. That's my reach to 5 today is on that list. And then I try to do at least one thing every day that touches my customer base. So I did the tip this morning, 3 ways to get brighter eyes. And then I always try to set aside time to spend looking through my back office. And that even if you have 2 people in your back office, that's a habit you want to get into right away, because there are so many easy ways for people to fall through the cracks, and recognition is so huge. If people feel seen in this business, they will stick with you. If they feel like you appreciate them, they will stick with you forever. So, you know, I try to go through, and maybe it's not the person. I have a girl who is 1,500 from Black right now. So obviously I've been spending a lot of time with her, but it's also the person who just made her first sale, who maybe was really scared to sign up, and you reach out and you say, hey, I see you, or hey, I see your $183 PRS. That's awesome. That's some great sales for you. Function better with busy as well. Yeah, totally. You know, when I'm sitting around, my business suffers. And that's a great part about this business is, you know, you can be on vacation, you can be traveling, you can be doing whatever, and you can still be working it. So, you know, I'm always trying to think about where can I go with my next post, or what new challenge can I create for my team? And so I put a lot of stuff in my notes app. Some of it doesn't happen, but you know, I have this kind of sounding board to go through, so that when I feel like I'm kind of falling into that slump where I'm not doing anything, I have those references to go back to. I have my group page, I have my notes list where I can look and kind of get inspiration again, where it's like, oh yeah, I was gonna do this. Okay, anything else? So I think, you know, I try to keep these at about a half hour or less. You know, I don't want to drag on too much and bore you guys too much, but you can always reach out to me. You know, I'll hang around your team page for those of you who are going to watch the playback later today. If you have questions, I'm happy to cover anything. You can message me as well. I have some training videos that are similar to what we've covered on YouTube. I'm under Kai Lauren. So, you know, feel free to follow me on there. I will share the Summer Slump video in the comments here so that you can see that as well. And, you know, like I said, let me know if you have questions. I should have said this at the very beginning. Lauren is amazing. I just absolutely, you know, one of the things I love to talk to my team about is getting rid of the word hope. Get the word hope out of your vocabulary. Because when you're saying, I hope I can achieve this promotion, or I hope I can get to this level, you're kind of leaving it up to chance. And so I teach them to say, okay, I will, or how are you going to do this? And when I was in Tampa, I spoke at Unified last year in Tampa, and that's where I got to meet Lauren, and she was purple at the time. And she said, I will be black status. I will. And there was no doubt. I looked in her eyes, and there was no doubt in her mind she was going to be black status. I knew it at the time. And she made such a great impression. I had 8 women on my team there, and they all just fell in love with her. She made a great impression on everybody. And it really resonated with me, you know, and so I was so happy a couple of months later to see her achieve that goal, because I knew, like, she had it in her mind. She was going for it. You're very, very lucky, I'm sure you already know this, to have a fantastic leader for your team. If you don't know it, you should. Thank you so much, Lauren, for having me. And I lost just, okay, it's like the cane. They're trying to get me off now. It's disconnecting. You know, Lauren's gonna do a great training for my team tonight, and we're really looking forward to that. So thanks, everybody, and I hope to hear from some of you soon. Bye. Mwah.